So as you all know, there's a massive right-wing civil war currently ongoing. You have Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin versus Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens to one extent or another. Then you got people who are like sort of in the middle trying to make peace, like Alex Jones and Matt Walsh. Hey, why can't we all just get along? That sort of shit. It's really showing no signs of slowing down. If anything, it's speeding up, right? Ted Cruz is now leaning into the fight against Tucker Carlson, and you have the pro-Israel right versus the anti-Israel right, and there's, all these different dividing lines. And it's all happening because MAGA's falling apart, because Trump is making horrible decisions. It's a mess. He's a mess. He's an absolute mess. When, your trade war is destroying the economy, this is where you end up. Your own people end up at each other's throats. When your endless warmongering is, busting up the myth that you were ever anti-war, this is what happens. This is the result. So anyway, Nick Fuentes, not to be deterred, cannot help himself, and he decided to go after Tucker Carlson, one of the only fellow travelers in this war, this right-wing civil war that he has. Here we go.
Boy. So we got to talk about the MAGA civil war narrative that the left-wing media is obsessed with, right? They are pushing this narrative that essentially exists online, to be honest with you, about how MAGA is falling apart. Trump is losing all of his support. Trump supporters are abandoning him, and it's over for Trump, right? They're already basically writing President Trump off, right? It's the funeral already, right? He's done. He's cooked. And we're going to talk about that because it seems as if that is far from reality, and CNN is going to learn that the hard way. But just understand that Blue Anon, they are obsessed with the right and the perceived infighting that is going on right now.
Vance has a problem in that the base of MAGA is fundamentally racist.
Yep.
And I know people don't like it when you say it, but it's the emergence from the Tea Party to MAGA.
Yeah.
Tea Party, when you finally did the actual data, PRRI and others, the thing that most motivated them was race and hatred of non-white immigrants. Mm-hmm. What most motivates MAGA? Hatred of non-white immigrants. Yep. They're obsessed with non-white immigrants and undocumented people. They use the term illegals, which is just the N-word for brown people.
100%.
If you want to say the N-word and it's about brown people, you say illegals. I'm sorry I said it again. That is me saying the N-word about that is what it is, right? And that's what motivates them. So they can't have the successor to MAGA be the guy with the brown Hindu wife. They're also Christian nationalists. That ain't gonna work. That's why he's throwing his wife under the bus. Poor Usha. Or she's in on it, right? And she's
playing slap and tickle with Erica Kirk's the weirdest shit I've ever seen. Yeah, she's like in her Tammy Faye era.
Okay. Holding on the back of his head and rubbing on his head.
Some weird shit.
Baby. Don't do that to Jason. I'm gonna start thinking something's going on. Why are you holding the back of his head? I'm like, you're not doing that right thing. You're supposed to be a widow. You in leather pants?
It is.
That's not widow wear.
Could you imagine if...
Wouldn't it be the most perfect fairy tale, MAGA fairy tale?
Yeah.
If he finally sees the light that he needs a white queen instead of this brown Hindu? I mean, I'm not saying that's happening.
Right.
Or maybe that Usha's not even in on it. Maybe she's whatever. But that's one entrant. Another entrant is frankly Donald Trump Jr. If he can, keep it together, because he's got the name.
Yeah.
He's the son.
Yeah.
Maybe it's him, right?
Right.
And then there's other entrants. Bannon can't do it because he's sloppy and look a hot mess, and everybody's like a ugly man. You know what I mean? He's hideous. That's not gonna be him. So it's like, well, who could it be? Charlie Kirk was said to be one of the contestants to inherit the throne. Well, he's gone. Mm-hmm. And then the other person there are two other people who I think are potential inheritors that we don't talk about as much because neither of them are politicians. One of them is Tucker Carlson.
Yeah,
who has been positioning himself for a long time.
When he's not getting attacked by demons.
In his sleep.
That's fucking crazy now.
Come on now.
Let me ask.
He says it out loud. Sorry.
But honestly, if you were Beelzebub or a demon, who best to get into bed with?
I want to tell you.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. That is full Blue Anon slop, right? Which is how I would characterize a vast majority of the commentary from the left on the perceived infighting, right, going on the right, right? The MAGA civil war, okay, in which people believe that President Trump is losing the base, right? That he's losing his core base of supporters, except, at least according to CNN, and I know it's an asterisk here, it's CNN, but it's not like CNN ever really polls President Trump favorably, right? Let's be honest here. When CNN tries to estimate President Trump's support, they underestimate his support quite a bit. And I'm saying that because I know inevitably there will be somebody in the comment section who, is probably right-leaning or a Trump supporter and is upset with President Trump right now, will say, oh, I can't believe that you're citing a CNN poll. It's like, well, again, I'm not saying that a CNN poll is accurate. The only thing I'm saying is that typically they underestimate the president's support. So, I mean, if it is inaccurate, it's probably because it's an underestimation, not because it's an overestimation based off history. But again, my point is that CNN's Analyst is going to be shocked to learn that the perceived MAGA civil war, right, this idea that the GOP base, Republican voters, are abandoning Trump is fake, right? It's not real. It's a myth that is basically an online thing only on X. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
So is the president losing Republicans?
No. Look, this is still Donald Trump's Republican Party, and we can see it here. It's like a rock, to quote Bob Seger. I mean, take a look here. Republicans who approve of Trump. 6 months ago, it was 87%. Now, well, hello, it's the same number. It's 87%. He has not lost any support among Republicans compared to 6 months ago. As I said at the beginning, he's like a rock. He's like a rock. The Republican base is sticking by Donald Trump at this point in time.
Yeah, so some people may be confused by this because, again, when you're on X, and I honestly recommend, people who own X a lot to take a break from X because X is really become a cesspool of ignorance, to be honest with you. They'll say, how is this possible? I see so many people abandoning Trump. Dave Smith is no longer a Trump supporter. It's like, was Dave Smith really ever a real Trump supporter? I mean, let's be real. There are people who supported Trump during his presidency because they hated Kamala, right? And let's be honest, there also was riding the train, right? Of the fact that at that point MAGA was cool, and MAGA still is cool. I mean, let's be real. Right? They was getting on the clout train, right? But those type of people, the people that you see that are abandoning the president already, even though, again, it's only been 8-9 months, right? I mean, we haven't had a year, okay? A year. They weren't hardcore supporters in the first place. They're not MAGA. Now, let's talk about some of the infighting amongst individuals who, are perceived to be MAGA or, individuals that are more traditionally conservative. And I'll say this, right? That infighting that you're seeing amongst those characters, a lot of it has to do with the fact that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And because Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there's a void in the conservative influencer space that a lot of personalities are desperately trying to fill. And because of that, that's why you're seeing a lot of the infighting, and that's where the MAGA civil war narrative comes from, is because you have individuals trying to divide this movement for their own personal gain. Not because they're trying to push the movement forward into the future with good faith discussions and ideas, right? It really is more about Charlie Kirk is dead. He was kind of holding the movement together in the sense that he was like bridging the more moderate base and the more, further right base of the movement. He was that bridge. And because that bridge is not there, again, there's a void. And a lot of people, again, see opportunity in that void. And the chaos and division that you're seeing, again, mainly online, right, on X, is a result of that, right? And that's why you have so many discussions about these sensitive topics, these sensitive issues that don't really move the movement forward in any way that I believe, personally, is constructive. So I just want people to understand, people who are surprised to see that, oh, wait, when we actually measure this, the president hasn't lost any support, right? It's because a lot of the stuff that you see online is simply that. It's online, right? It's not real life. It's not real life. It's the internet, right? They aren't actual, like, Trump supporters in real life who, don't spend all their time online, right, on X, boo-hoo, whine, and cry. You're talking about getting out there talking to real people. You find out, wait, a lot of people still support the president, and they have not abandoned the president, right? That Trump is not losing the base. That's just false. Okay, now again, people will say, let's see it in. All I'm saying, CNN typically underestimates the president's support. I'm just saying, they could be wrong, but typically they're wrong in the sense that they underestimate, not overestimate. But I just want people to understand that. The people that you're saying that's like, oh, I'm not MAGA anymore. They weren't really MAGA in the first place, right? And the ones who were, again, traditionally MAGA or whatever, a lot of it has to do with their own egos, their own personal ambitions, right? And, you know, I'm not the type of person that engages in that type of stuff because I care about the substance. I care about advancing the movement forward, right? And that's why every single day I stick to the issues. I stick to covering the news, talking about actual politics, analyzing what's going on, keep you guys updated. I'm not getting involved in these perpetual debates about stuff that, honestly, the grand scheme of things really doesn't matter, right? And is not constructive.
It really is interesting to watch his overall approval rating go down, 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 but see this be completely constant here.
It is among independents. It is not among Republicans.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is what I'm getting at when people want to talk about folks like, you know, a Dave Smith or Joe Rogan or, you know, whatever. People who weren't really MAGA in the first place, like, oh, I'm not really sure about Trump right now, you know. Yeah, those people are independents, right? Independents that supported Trump, right, during the election. They were never hardcore. Right? That's not the base. And that's what people got to understand. Now, does that mean that they don't matter? No, it doesn't mean they don't matter. And we're going to talk about that, okay? Because that is where President Trump is struggling. Okay? He is struggling with independence. But we have to put that in context, historical context, which is what we're going to do in this video.
Okay, so how does this compare to past presidents in a second term?
Yeah, okay. I think this gives the game away, right? Which is Donald Trump, if you look at 21st century presidents, own party approval at this point in term 2. Who leads the pack? It's Donald John Trump. 87% of Republicans approve Donald John Trump. You go back to 2013, 78% of Democrats supported Barack Obama, and it was 78% of Republicans who supported George W. Bush back in 2005 at this point. So Donald Trump has the biggest highest own party approval of any president who served their entire second term in the 21st century.
You could look at this one of two ways. You could say, obviously, he's doing way better than past presidents. Or you could say, there is still room to settle. If there is a reversion to the mean here, if that does fall further, that could chip into his overall approval rating. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene, resigning from Congress in January. One of the concerns is that Donald Trump backed someone in a primary against her. How has Donald Trump done in his congressional endorsements?
You know, when you go up against Donald Trump, you're going up against a buzzsaw because Donald Trump's endorsement record is, it's hard to find anyone else who beats it. Times Trump endorsees won GOP primaries. In 2020, it was 98%. 2022, it was 95%. In 2024, it was 96%. And I will note, the majority of times that Donald Trump backed a challenger to an incumbent like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that challenger won a majority of the time. The bottom line is this. There was a real reason why Marjorie Taylor Greene decided, you know what, it's not worth the fight, because more times than not, when you go up against Donald Trump in a Republican primary, you lose.
Not just more times than not, almost all times.
Almost all of the times, yeah.
Based on these. All right, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's saying she's not going to run for president, but there are other questions, which is, hey, is she going to stay a Republican even? What do the markets think about that?
All right, so we go to the prediction markets here, and the chance to leave the Republican Party by January 1st of 2027. You can see it, 31%. I think this is a pretty good baseline, which is more likely than not Marjorie Taylor Greene will stay within the Republican ranks, but there's actually a pretty decent chance that she doesn't. And then that becomes really interesting to see what she has to say about Republicans and Donald Trump in particular if she decides to wave adios amigos.
This is the Republicans, the prediction market saying there is a chance.
There is a chance.
Harriet, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you're saying that, you heard that. Context, as I was hinting at earlier in the video, again, people have to understand that what President Trump is experiencing right now is totally normal for a president in his second term. Okay, like, for example, President Trump right now, again, according to aggregate polling, has a 43% approval rating. Now, in isolation, that sounds bad. Oh, his approval rating sucks. But yet, when you look at the approval rating of Obama and Bush in their second term, at the same exact time that we're at right now, which is about 8 to 9 months in, President Trump is doing significantly better than both. Right now, President Trump is at 43%. Obama's at 41%. Bush is at 39.8%. Now, here's the crazy part about it. Bush and Obama did not get nearly as much negative press as President Trump, right? The liberal media was not shitting on Obama every day or shitting on Bush every day. We live in a unique media environment where a vast majority of the mainstream liberal media, they are extremely anti-Trump. They lie. They push propaganda every single day. And he still has a higher approval rating at this point in time in his second term than his predecessors. What you just saw in that clip from CNN was that President Trump, at this point in time, has a higher approval rating within his own party than Obama and Bush had. So in the grand scheme of things, when you actually put stuff in context, this idea that there's a MAGA civil war, MAGA's falling apart, Trump is losing his core supporters, his core base, he's losing the base, it's all nonsense. It's internet stuff. That's what it is. It's the internet. And the internet is not real life. And that is the point of this video. People gotta say the internet is not real life. Are there things that President Trump needs to improve on? Yes, obviously, right? Are there mistakes that he's made? Yes. But I would say overall, for the most part, I think he's done a pretty damn good job. He's exceeded my expectations. Why do I say that? It's because he put in good faith efforts to fulfill his campaign promises. You got to understand that President Trump is not a dictator. He has to operate within the framework of, again, a hostile media environment, a hostile Democrat Party who's just opposing him no matter what. But he still accomplished stuff. He still closed the border. He's still doing the mass deportations. We have net negative migration in this country for the first time in decades. Like, immigration is the single biggest issue that President Trump campaigned on, that the base voted for, and he fulfilled his promise, right? He's currently doing that. There's no reason to abandon him. There's no logical reason to abandon him at this point, 8 months, 9 months in, when clearly he's doing the things that he campaigned on. We haven't gotten any real new wars or anything like that. Oh, we bombed Iran. That wasn't a war. We have more stability in the Middle East than we've had in a long time, right, under President Trump, like objectively speaking. We have more stability now than we did before. Who knows what's going to happen with Ukraine and Russia, but President Trump is putting in a good faith effort to try to end that conflict. You can't say he's not trying. He's trying to fight crime in liberal cities. He's ended wokeness, right? I mean, he's single-handedly ended wokeness within corporate America. DEI is done. DEI is dead. We're winning the culture war. Now, when it comes to the economy, that is a work in progress. The big, beautiful bill was passed in, I believe July. It's been like 3 months. It's a tax bill where a vast majority of the benefits of the bill are tax cuts for everybody, right? Not just the rich, not just for big businesses, for everybody. And you're going to see that. A lot of people are going to see that come tax season, right? When they get their refund checks. So we haven't even been in the second term of Trump's presidency long enough for people to even see the economic benefits of his major tax proposals, right? His policies. On top of the fact he has deregulated heavily in the big, beautiful bill and with executive orders as well, too. So we're getting the deregulations. We're getting the tax cuts. Inflation is not nearly as bad as it was under Biden. I don't care what these people say, what they claim. Are we still dealing with it? Yeah, sure. But a lot of that is psychological in the sense that real wages have to catch up with the fact that people just experience historic inflation under Biden, and it's going to take time for people psychologically to get used to the fact that, hey, prices are going to be a little bit higher. But gas prices are the lowest they've been in a long time under President Trump. Again, mainly due to his foreign policy and his pro-energy policies. There are a lot of good things that the president's doing. Like, objectively speaking. So that's why I'm not surprised when I see a poll like this. I'm like, yeah, to me, this is unsurprising because as a supporter, I'm like, he's doing pretty good. And when you understand, just historically speaking, how politics tends to work, right? You talk about a president in his second term, he's doing better than Obama and Bush. But, oh, what about the midterms? What about the midterms? We might win the midterms. We might lose the midterms. But context matters, right? First and foremost, we are a year out from the midterms. A lot can change in a year. I think the economy is going to get better. I think the big, beautiful bill benefits are going to come through over the next year. Because logically speaking, right, knowing how supply side economics works, that's what happens with tax cuts and deregulation. It takes time for people to experience the benefits, right? Because a lot of it has to do with business investment, has to do, again, with tax cuts, has to do with deregulation. So it takes time to actually get those benefits going. That's just the reality. It's not a direct handout, right? It's not a stimulus check, which, by the way, apparently the stimulus checks could be coming right before the midterms. Now, again, why would that happen? Well, the reason why that would happen is because, yeah, Trump is struggling with independence. Yes, I am admitting that. I will not lie to you and say that President Trump is doing great with independence. But President Trump not doing great with independence is actually a sign that he's doing a lot of things that the base wants him to do, which is why you have some independents who have been turned off by the mass deportations. They have been turned off by some of the things that President Trump has done. But that's just the reality of how politics works. But hopefully if the economy gets better, right? People get some money in their pockets. Tax refunds come in. Oh, my tax refund is bigger. Oh, I just got a stimulus check going into the midterms. Hopefully those low propensity voters, those independents, right, who are not feeling Trump right now, hopefully if/when the economy get better, I'm leaning towards when the economy gets better, we'll be all right. Now, again, if we lose the midterms in regards to losing the House and the Senate, yeah, that would be a disaster. It wouldn't be unprecedented, but it would be a disaster. It would be pretty bad. Most likely, it looks like we're going to probably lose the House and keep the Senate. Again, that wouldn't be ideal, but that wouldn't be the end of the world. We still had a Senate. We had a presidency. Okay, we don't have a House. Democrats will be able to participate in theatrics. Okay, that's, not ideal, but they can't really do anything. Okay? But we're still in a conversation where it is possible that Republicans could retain the House and retain the Senate. It's still possible. We don't know yet. I think a lot of people are getting ahead of themselves when they talk about Trump and when they talk about debates and his core support, because we've only been in the presidency for 8 months. It hasn't been a year. And people are already trying to write off the president in less than a year. And it's like, that's just silly, right? It's nonsense. Especially considering how much he's done so far. He's done so much. That's why these people are in the streets protesting. These people are losing their minds. Liberals are losing their minds because they feel like Trump has done a lot, right? He's done too much, okay? That's why you have these people in the streets losing it. That's why you see all this stuff. So that's why I want to do this video, because I want to put some context on some of the things that you may see online. A lot of these doomers, again, they're pushing it for engagement, but they don't represent reality. They don't represent the real person and how people actually are feeling about the president in regards to the core base of supporters. Yes, independence, he may be losing independence, but that's what happens. Every president in his second term loses independence, right? That's just kind of how it goes. But we're going to see where we're going to be at over the next year or so. And I say that, hey, after the midterms, I think that's the time to really judge. 2-3 years into the administration, not 8 months. And after that, that'll be time where people will decide the future of the party, right? The direction of the party. Do we still want to embrace Trumpism and MAGA? Or is the Republican Party going to go in a new direction? Democrats going to have to decide after the midterms as well, too. But making that judgment right now, 8 months into his second term, is premature. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.